And good evening. Welcome to Good Guy Sports. I'm Jackson Gerke alongside with our co-host Mike Roby, Blake Wamberger, and brother Blake. We will get to all our topics and talk some. We'll get to our we'll get to our today's topics. We're going to talk about some. We will get to baseball and basketball in a second, but I want to first talk about the NFL. Get to some NFL headlines here. Obviously, we know that Mike McCarthy has decided to return as Dallas Cowboys head as the Cowboys head coach. We thought that everybody in sports talk thought that he was going to be out as head coach, but surprisingly, of his comments, he decided that he wanted to return and just want to send a message to fans. Fans, he said in his press conference, but yet the Cowboys were favored last week and got upset by Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers last week, and then the Eagles, my dad's team, yeah, yeah, I know,
Cry,
I
Eagles,
know you
cry.
cry, yes, and the Eagles just, the Eagles just, they just, in my opinion, they just give up big plays and just they played terrible defense. Couldn't stop the run. They did it. They do the tush push. They don't get it. They don't get it on fourth and goal. They don't get it in the end zone. They before that they kicked the field goal and then they got penalized and they got a penalty after that they got in the fourth got down in the got it in the fourth and goal situation. Tried to score. They don't get it. The Eagles just give up big plays and then Jalen Hurts just looked too off to me, and then AJ Brown and those guys just couldn't come up with big plays on fourth down and just couldn't convert big just couldn't convert on big plays and just I mean they did score. It's just the Buccaneers just somehow just just made the big plays and on the Eagles defense side of the ball they just gave up too many tackles and that led the Buccaneers to score on more plays, and that's how the Buccaneers won that game. And if I'm not mistaken, now Blake, I know that Blake Wamberger, I know that you spend most of your time down the boat down in Tampa a while back, and realizing that you just if you probably were still down there, you'll probably be blown away offshore if it were hurricane season down there. But anyway, the point is,
Jack, you know what we say in Tampa? You know what we say in Tampa, Jack? Even a blind squirrel finds a nut. And it just seems that the Eagles, and not to be punny, Jack, but it just Jalen Hurts that it happened to be against the Eagles when they found that nut. Don't be getting all thinking that the Buccaneers are a Super bound bowl. Like we went and looked at their practice facility that one time. This is a blind squirrel finding a nut. And
yeah,
Detroit,
Yeah.
Detroit couldn't be happier.
Yeah. Didn't the Bucks blitz a lot?
They were getting to Hurts very easily, it seemed like, in that game.
Seemed like they were throwing at least 5 guys.
What they say is his time, he was like only had like two and some change seconds to get the ball off every time or something.
It certainly felt like it.
You could best the Lions have been looking at that tape all week.
Yeah, I think. No, go ahead, Blake.
Oh no, I was just saying the Lions are licking their chops, man. It looks like they are headed in my humble opinion. Now, although the Philly was my one lock this past week, I will say the Lions are my lock this week. But who knows? Maybe that Squirrels finds one more nut, but I don't think so.
Yeah, and I mean to bring it back to the Dallas and Philly situations. I guess we're talking about the Eagles right now, and I don't, it's a weird situation there because obviously there was such a strong team last year and they got off to a great start this year, 10-1. It's easy to forget that. But it was really a tale of two seasons almost in Philly. Once the past couple of months, just it seems like the team just stopped playing for the coach. The defense couldn't really cover anybody, and they weren't getting enough pressure to kind of compensate for that. And obviously they didn't have a couple of key offensive players, a couple injuries and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a strange one. I'm not really sure what you can put it down to in terms of like one thing. It's just kind of a confluence of things that kind of brought them on a downward trend.
I think they're
Blake,
just trying to steal the head coach away from the Falcons.
Ooh,
Who's that? The Eagles are?
Belichick. Yeah.
Oh, you think the Eagles are going to try to, yeah, I guess we can get on to the coaching carousel in a second, but
Mm.
as they say in DC, who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it?
yeah, and I mean, I think it's a different situation in Dallas, and like Jackson mentioned, they announced today they're sticking with McCarthy, which a bit of a head scratcher in my opinion, because they were a good team all year. They were a good home team as well. They weren't as strong on the road, but offensively, Dak had a really good season. The defense made plays, but it's just something about the Cowboys in the playoffs. They just can't seem to, I don't want to say catch any breaks because it's not like they got unlucky. They just got outplayed by a Green Bay team. So why they would keep McCarthy after a season like that, where they at least should have made it to the divisional round. I think it's just kind of speaks to the ownership there wanting to have the power and being fine with a coach who's a pretty complacent in Mike McCarthy.
You know, there was a great broadcasting show, sports talk show back in the day, had a A-list C-suite broadcaster named Uncle Mike on it, who said something I've never forgotten. He said, and he was talking about baseball, but it just happens sometimes it's when you get hot. And I don't know if that applies to getting cold, but it seems like Philly got cold at the wrong time. In Dallas, I guess, as well. So I don't know how much that plays into it, but I'll never forget that.
Speaking of hot teams, we got a couple of hot teams going to be playing the Bills. Bills are a hot team.
Bills are a hot team, yeah. I think the game jumping over to the AFC, yeah, their game is in Buffalo, and
It's going to be
yeah,
balmy. It's going to be 18 degrees.
I think compared to the weather the previous weekend, that's pretty great. I would I would venture to say.
They're gonna have to get the shovel soldiers back out again.
No, I don't think so. I haven't heard.
I think it'll be. I think they'll get away with it.
Yeah.
I think
It's not gonna be warm. It's not gonna be warm though. That's for sure.
I think that gets the team a little hype in a weird way. Y'all fans out there shirtless, shoveling snow, jumping down the little snow sleds,
Throwing snowballs.
Now, do they get free tickets for doing that? At least in the nosebleed or anything? How does that work?
They get paid. They got paid like $20 an hour.
Did they really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the game time weather report is 20 degrees at kickoff at 6:30. But there won't be much sun or anything like that. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be cold, but obviously not really cold for Buffalo. And Buffalo is a slight favorite as well, which makes sense being at home. And on paper, they're two evenly matched teams, but given what we saw last week from Kansas City, I struggle to bet against Mahomes even in this kind of situation. But they do look pretty depleted compared to the previous Chiefs teams.
Yeah.
What if you bet against KC, you're bet against the Taylor train. Don't forget the Kansas City, their silver bullet right now is just a country music star. So they got the nation behind them right now.
Yeah. But Josh Allen, he's playing. I mean, his 54-yard run last week was pretty awesome. He had
And
a
you're
couple
also going
other
to
big
go,
runs.
and sorry, and you're going to have to go against Isaiah Pacheco, who I played in fantasy football this year, who leads the league in receiving yards and touchdowns.
Yeah.
Who is by far one of Patrick Mahomes' favorite targets. So something to keep your eye on to watch from heading into this game, because we all know the history of this game. You go back 2 years ago when the teams last played in the playoffs, it was in Kansas City. It was in Arrowhead, and Kansas City the last time around, and it went into 2 overtimes, and the Chiefs got it. And I'm sure we all remember that the Chiefs got the ball in overtime, and Josh Allen had never touched the ball last. That was my memory of how I remember watching that game. But now the overtime rules change and how things are now, I think we're going to get double overtime. And this time around, I think Josh Allen will get the ball in his hands once the Chiefs are finished with their last drive in the game for this one compared to the last time around. So I think Allen will get the ball second in overtime after Mahomes' possession with the Chiefs. That's how I see it.
Jackson, that's the most detailed prediction I've ever heard, and I love it. Let me ask you, Jackson. Let's play something real quick called "Am I crazy or am I not crazy?" And I'm going to give you a statement, and you tell me if I'm crazy or not crazy. Okay? Crazy.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Somebody jumped the gun early. Jackson, here's the statement: there are only 3 teams left in the playoffs that even have a chance, the slightest chance, to win the Super Bowl: Buffalo, Kansas City, and Baltimore. Am I crazy or am I not crazy?
Well, you're not crazy. You are, well, I'm gonna put it this way: you're crazy for Buffalo because they have to play the Ravens and the 49ers, which everybody in the sports media world is probably picking the Ravens. And I'm not getting ahead of myself, but if I had to guess, I think the Ravens and the 49ers
Niners.
by far, yes, absolutely. The Ravens and 49ers.
Can't forget about the Niners.
Yeah, Niners, Ravens are the teams to beat, and they're all 1 seeds too. So, and they'll be playing for the Super Bowl, and that's probably going to be my guess.
So add the 49ers in there.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you're crazy if you don't include San Francisco in that bunch.
No
It's,
love in San Francisco this weekend.
Is Brock Purdy still the quarterback out there?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I forget, how long has he been playing in the NFL? He's kind of new, right? Or he just didn't play for a while or something?
So he was the last pick of the draft, and then he came in last year, right? Was his first year, and
Yeah,
then
he was a rookie.
he
Yeah.
won the job off of their other quarterback.
They needed a body.
Well, yeah, exactly. So they traded up to get the kid from North Dakota or whatever, who I'm blanking on. And then Brock Purdy won the job, and then they just rolled with him. And then if you remember last year in the NFC Championship game, he got injured against Philadelphia. Maybe it would have been a different story if he didn't get injured in that game. But yeah, I think if we jump to that game, Green Bay at San Francisco, I think it's going to be. I think San Francisco will win this game because they've just got too much talent on both sides of the ball. Too much talent on the offensive and defensive lines as well. But it will be interesting to see how Brock Purdy handles a bit more playoff pressure, because last year you could say he was kind of playing with house money, to use that expression, where he's a rookie quarterback.
Yeah. Well, San Francisco's also got a good rushing game.
Yeah.
So they don't rely solely on his arm or his or on Purdy's legs. And then they also got a great defense.
Yeah. I mean, not to jump ahead to the Super Bowl or whatever, but I'd be surprised if San Francisco doesn't make it, just for the fact that they've got a good matchup at home this weekend, and I just don't see how Detroit or Tampa is beating San Francisco in San Francisco. So things have really opened up kindly for the 49ers in the NFC.
And it's just fun to say Niners.
Niners.
You know, just like the good old days with the classic Candlestick Park and
Where's Joe Montana
good
when you
old
need him?
Joe
Yeah.
Montana and Steve Young and who else am I missing?
Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice, the great the great dynasty of the back in the I don't know early 80s or 70s back in the day, whatever you call it. Man, those never get old, and those classic old school 49ers days are just
The
kind
catch.
kind of the catch to where we are now with Debo and George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk, and it's great. It's great to call him his name, and yeah, I mean Kyle Shanahan, who you're familiar with, Blake, because he was the offensive coordinator of your Falcons, and now you're now you're getting to know him very well because I feel like the 49ers are definitely the team to beat, but we'll see what happens. But it could come down to the Chiefs or the Ravens, in my opinion. But 49ers in the Super Bowl, yeah, I wouldn't want to play this team.
Well, Jackson, I don't know if any of you guys on the show are old enough to know this, but there used to be a park called Candlestick Park. And if my memory serves me correct, it was baseball/football, the classic fields. But you know what the Europeans say, Jackson? America's only good for two reasons: Levi jeans and barbecue. And the new stadium just happens to be sponsored by Levi's, I believe. And so maybe they do have a fighting chance in this.
I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, Levi jeans and I don't know. I don't know. Their barbecue is Korean, and then Kansas City has barbecue, and Carolina has their own barbecue, and you got Memphis and Nashville. Or that's all I got for my barbecue take on this topic.
That's plenty of good barbecue to go
Pretty
around.
good barbecue.
Good
call on the Korean barbecue, Jackson.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
call.
Give me some of that. It just looks delicious. I wish we were having that right now.
So just to circle back to the Buffalo game, is anybody picking against Mahomes in that game? You are,
I
Uncle
am.
Mike. So you
Yeah.
think Buffalo?
Buffalo.
Gosh, I'm tell you what, I'm really on the fence about this one because the fact that Buffalo is at home gives them a slight advantage, but the fact
They're
that
at
it's
home and they've lost 2 other playoff games against the Chiefs.
yeah, but yeah, exactly. So you're going
They
against
got-
history there with
Yeah.
Mahomes and the
You know,
playoffs.
I'm going with Allen. I think he's got something to prove. He's tough. And I think he's I mean he's what 6'5", 240. I mean, he's just like having a linebacker as your quarterback.
Yeah.
But he can throw the ball too.
Gosh,
We got
I know.
a little white Cam Newton. It's a little light skinned Cam Newton running around in Buffalo.
He's good at running the ball. I
Yeah.
think he's tough to bring down as well, which definitely helps him. And so that's definitely a advantage. Yeah, gosh, I don't know. I'm really on the fence. I think I'm leaning Kansas City just because I don't want to pick against Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. Blake, where are you leaning? Oh, it looks like we lost him. Jack, where are you leaning in this one?
I think I'm going to slightly lean towards Buffalo, but I think Kansas City to cover.
Okay, but so you think it's gonna be like a 1 or 2 point victory for
I do. We have Blake for us. We lost you for a second. Who do you got in the Buffalo Kansas City game?
we can circle back. Maybe he's just getting his audio sorted out.
Sorry, it cut me off for a second. I thought you were talking to them, Jack. What'd you say? What was the question?
Yeah, we were saying what your prediction for the Kansas City Buffalo game.
Gosh, geez Louise. You guys got such good points. I love Josh Allen. He's a fighter. I think he's got so much dog in him. But then you got, I mean, that might be the game for the Super Bowl, although you got Baltimore over there. But I like Blake said, you can't, I mean, Patrick Mahomes has been there, done it, won a Super Bowl. I mean, that experience is so valuable. This is going to be it's in Buffalo. I think the Bills Mafia's had, it's their time. It's the Bills Mafia's time. I'm cheering for Josh Allen. I hope Buffalo wins. I think Buffalo will take it. I think they want it bad enough, and they shoveled snow last week to get the stadium ready. The fans want it. Kansas City, it's just another Super Bowl is just not a big deal for them. It's just, it's just like you going and getting another Big Mac at McDonald's. You've had it before. It's not as delicious as it once was. I think it's time for Buffalo to eat a Big Mac. Buffalo.
Buffalo
Okay.
wings.
Yeah, or the wings as well. I like the analogy.
Like the theory of your strategy there. All right, so let's talk about the winner of, as we all know, the Buccaneers. Just as we all know, to recap from, as I said from last week, the Eagles had no answer. They got embarrassed and crushed by the Buccaneers last week. Now the Buccaneers beat the Eagles, and they will now play the winner of the Detroit Lions game. This game is being played in Ford Field in Detroit. Now the reason why the Buccaneers found a way to beat the Eagles is because of Baker Mayfield, who had an up and down season, but somehow everybody proved our doubters wrong that nobody thought this team was going to win the division. It was going to be Derek Carr and the Saints. It turned out it didn't happen. Now they lost their offensive coordinator. But now since the Buccaneers won the division about a month ago or so, now take their attention to Ford Field to take on the red hot Detroit Lions, going up against Jared Goff, and Baker Mayfield is just we can prove everyone wrong that he's found a way to win games. Just has multiple touchdowns, less interceptions, and the same it is in this. I'm not sure if I've said this on the program before, that he is no Tom Brady. Well, guess what? He is in that category, and I think Baker Mayfield will be in that same quarterback level, and I think he'll get there. It's just
You're saying Baker Mayfield is the same level as Tom Brady?
Well, he's getting there, but not quite there yet. But he's just I say that his career is just getting started for this team, and
I think Baker has to do a lot more than just winning a wild card game to match Tom Brady's accomplishments in Tampa Bay. But I understand your point where they were they were unfancied in that game, and it was a statement victory for Tampa. But does that mean you're picking them to win in Detroit? Because that seems like quite the call from you if you are.
No, I am not. But all I'm saying is he's had a great run. Now it's going to be Detroit's turn, and I think they're going to be, and I think that they're going to be win this one pretty easily. And I think we can all agree that Detroit and Jared Goff are going to win this one. The Bucs had a great season. We can congratulate them, but I got but like you said, the Lions are the better team. Jared Goff and the Lions, and or win this game. I've got the Lions. Dan Campbell and those Lions will get them fired up and ready for this fan base up in the Motor City of Detroit. They will win this game, and I've got them win this game. Who do you guys like? Are you guys picking the Buccaneers in this one?
No, I'm picking the Lions, and I'll tell you why. The Hutchinson is on a three-game multiple sack streak. Right. I think he does it again this weekend, and I think he's going to be the Lions offense is good. I think Hutchinson is going to step up for the defense and have multiple sacks, and that'll win the game.
B.L. Weinberger, you lived in Tampa part-time, or I'm gonna say most of your life, but part-time on the Seas. Will you pick them against the Detroit Lions, against the Lions?
No, and I'm going to tell you why, Jackson. The Carolina Panthers have had enough pain. They've gone through enough pain, and their front office has got to be thinking right now, we gave away Baker Mayfield. He's in a playoff game. We could have had C.J. Stroud. He's in a second-round playoff game. The Panthers have had enough pain already. I need the Texans out. I need the Bucs out of the playoffs so we can stop crying down in Carolina. That's why the Tampa does not win this weekend.
No crying in your
All right, you
barbecue.
hear here first. Blake Lumberger not picking his former hometown team, Buccaneers. But at least that's his opinion, and I agree with him.
You know, my heart is telling me to pick an upset here and go with Tampa just because there might be some sort of like letdown for Detroit given the fact they won a playoff game last week after so long and they're not going to be as up for it. But I just think Tampa kind of bit off as much as they could chew last week beating Philadelphia. I don't see them as a multiple playoff victory team this year. So as much as I think it'd be fun to ride the Buccaneer pirate ship all the way to Las Vegas, I see their run ending in Detroit. I think this game might be a bit ugly as well. I don't think it will be a particularly great game. I think I could see it being kind of like a low scoring game at halftime, and then Detroit kind of Dan Campbell yells at everybody at halftime and kind of gets them going in the second half. So yeah, I think ultimately Detroit will take this one.
All right,
All right, we doing our NFC picks now.
Let's okay, so we picked the Packers 49ers game. So let's right?
I think we all picked San Francisco.
Yes, I think we're all on the same boat. So
Yeah.
which I want to leave off with
Stroud versus Jackson.
yes, Lamar Jackson, the Texans versus Stroud versus the Ravens, Lamar Jackson. This game will be cold, but not as cold as it is in Buffalo. We're talking about negative 28 degrees in kickoff.
This would be a balmy day in Baltimore.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Charm City.
Yes. 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 It will be on Saturday. It'll be 24. We're talking 24 degrees. For kickoff. For that game. The Ravens have a great defense, and I've mentioned them earlier in the show. A great defense going up against C.J. Stroud, who B.L. Weinberger just said that how the Panthers had gave up not getting him instead of taking Bryce Young, which I respect his opinion on that. But now C.J. Stroud is with the Texans. These teams last met in the regular season back in Houston. I think it was, I don't know, was it week 3 or 4? And from what I read from the last matchup, there wasn't even a touchdown scored in that game. It was all field goals. So, but this time around, I think there's going to be a lot of high scoring in this one because both teams are pretty good on offensively. They can score points differently on both sides of the ball for this one. I mean, we can expect Ray Lewis attending this game, which I've heard rumors that he will most likely be there, which I'm sure he will. Given the fact that the Ravens are probably going to win this one by at least two scores, which I have agreed on, which I have agreed on. I think I think they will. I think they'll win by 2 touchdowns, and I can see the Ravens win this one by a 2 score, and that's who I'm going with. And of course Jim Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson will get it done, and he'll win this game, and his team will win this one by 2 scores. For this one, I've got the Ravens. Who do you got?
Yeah, I'm with you, Jack. I think Ravens win this game quite easily. Although I will say big shout out to CJ Stroud, like you said, not the first quarterback taken in the draft. I forget who was the first one as well. It must have been the guy from Carolina or something. But CJ Stroud, really impressive rookie season, winning a playoff game. I know that, it was at home and stuff like that, and the Browns, Joe Flacco didn't have a great game and stuff like that. But yeah, huge credit to Stroud for showing a lot this year. I think the Texans have got themselves quite the prospect for the next couple of years. But yeah, no, I think Baltimore coming off a week's rest as well. I think they win this game quite easily. They'll be looking towards a big matchup next week against Buffalo and Kansas City. They'll just be hoping Buffalo and Kansas City beat each other up so much that they can take them on in the AFC conference game. But yeah, Baltimore all the way.
So I'm gonna ride the crazy train.
Are you?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
What?
What are you doing?
What?
I'm. Am I crazy or what?
Breaking news.
I'm picking the Texans.
Wow.
Wow.
CJ Stroud's no longer a rookie. He's been playing all year.
Wow.
He's got one playoff game against the Browns. And he played pretty well against the Browns. They're supposed to have a good defense.
Yeah.
So, I don't think there's got to be some visiting team that's going to win.
So you think?
So I'm going to go out on a limb. I think the Texans are going to surprise the Ravens.
Interesting. So you think Houston's got a better chance of winning on the road than Kansas City does?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I think because I think the Bills have got something to prove to themselves and their fan base against the Chiefs. Texans are just they got nothing to lose. I mean, they're just gonna come in there and all the pressure's on the Ravens.
Right.
Texas got nothing to lose. I think Stroud's he's gonna light it up.
I like where Mike's head's at. But I have to go to, there is one of the most famous sports broadcasters in sports talk radio is a guy by the name of Jackson Gerke. And Jackson Gerke rhymes with Deshaun Jackson. And for that reason, and Ray Lewis, and the fact that he never committed a crime, he had a perfect track record, won a Super Bowl with Art, the Baltimore Ravens put on a show and beat the no longer rookie CJ Stroud, rookie Texans, by 3 touchdowns. But I like where Mike's head's at.
Yeah, I tell you what, Mike, if you're correct, you're gonna be sitting pretty here next week, because
I'll be just like Joe Namath.
Exactly. Yeah.
Saying we're gonna win.
You gotta go make a couple of wagers with somebody, because not many people would be picking Houston in Baltimore.
No.
But I respect it. I respect the pick. I really do. I think you're crazy, but I respect it.
As I say, I was looking at somebody's got to pick the a visiting team.
Quick question: If CJ Stroud goes down, is Deshaun Watson eligible to play? What's his status right now?
Nah, he's out.
I
think you're thinking of he's actually with Cleveland now.
So we got traded. Okay,
traded
so he's
him,
moved
right,
on. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So hopefully no quarterback injuries this week. I don't know. I mean, speaking of quarterbacks, who do you think has the best? Who do you think? Which team is most confident in their quarterback this weekend, and which team do you think is least confident in their quarterback this weekend? Because I'm gonna say the team that's most confident is Kansas City with Mahomes, because of his track record.
Yeah.
And I kind of think the team that's least confident in a weird way might be Detroit, just because Jared Goff has had a few shaky moments, and he played well last week, to be fair. So there's no great answer for this. Maybe you could say Jordan Love, but I feel like he's a bit more house money. So I probably would say Goff maybe, but for all the bad quarterbacks in the regular season, there's a good crop here in this weekend slate.
That's a good question. I think the Bills are most confident with Allen. And I say on the second most confident has got to be the Packers with Love.
Yeah.
Although I don't think he's going to beat the 49ers, but he turned AT&T Stadium into the Love Shack.
That's right. Packers are playing with a lot of swag right now, so
Yeah.
I can't disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Packers just somehow found a way to quiet the crowd at AT&T Stadium, like you said, and they somehow, the Cowboys, if you think about it, still in a century or probably a decade, I won't say century, but in decades, has not reached the NFC Championship game. In fact, they are tied with the Washington football team, Redskins / Commanders, with the longest routes of reaching the NFC Championship. So they're in in that same
Yeah.
category.
The last time the Cowboys won the Super Bowl, Washington beat them twice in the regular season.
Interesting. That's a good stat.
So the Cowboys need to pick up the right playbook. They picked up the Tony Romo playbook before the game, and that was a mistake.
Yeah. So I guess we can transition, Jack, now that we've picked the game, to maybe a bit of a coaching vacancy talk. NFL
Yes,
coaching talk.
and I want to start, and I do want to start this. Yes, and I do want to start this one locally. This one's for Uncle Mike. I don't know if you heard this, but the Commanders football operations has hired Adam Peters as their new general manager.
Mhm.
If you look at his track record, he has been his previous teams with the Patriots, Broncos, winning Super Bowls, and more recently with the 49ers as a football vice president, general manager's operations for the team's organization. So Uncle Mike, I want to say it's a big splash hire for the Commanders, and I've watched his press conference, and everything I said is you're going to watch and see how this team reacts sitting on the field. That's what I've my biggest takeaway from the Commanders press conference, and I want to tell you, I hope he's right, because the Commanders have this is only the start and beginning. But I think anybody listening from Ashburn, Virginia, or anyone who's Commanders fans just have to watch and see how this team plays next season, because the Commanders now have got to find the right coach who can win championships and take them to the next level, and possibly try to be better than Dallas and Philadelphia and New York. If you get in that kind of level and try to take your team to a whole nother level, that can really change your team's direction and culture for the years to come. For this team, what are your thoughts on that, Mike?
Well, I almost wore my sunglasses today for the show, because the future's so bright. I gotta wear shades.
I love it.
Just like this guy.
Oh
Just like
yeah,
that guy.
I remember those days. You and me hanging out at the Fredericksburg minor league minor league farm system at the Fredericksburg Nationals game 2 summers ago. Those were good times. I really you and me, I really enjoyed our time together the last time we were we saw each other in person.
Yeah.
That was a great trip.
Peters, he started out as a scout, and he has really helped the 49ers, build a team, his latest gig. And I think he's going to do the same thing with the Commanders. Commanders have got 5 of the first 100 draft picks, and they have room. They have $70 million on the salary cap to play with this coming year. So they jettison all that salary earlier with some of their trades. So, the combination of free agency and the right draft picks, the future's going to be pretty bright. It's a matter of who they're going to pick as the head coach. But I'm very optimistic. I think they made the right move for the GM, and bring it on. As long as we can make it out of the NFC East at some point, we'll be fine.
They certainly got a lot of competition, but I think just sneaking into the wild card as well is kind of, they have about 7 teams make the playoffs in East Conference. So yeah, no reason you can't set yourself a nice long-term goal like that. Depends on how the draft goes, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Big one for the new.
Yeah. Well, we got
new-
the second overall pick, and they may pick May coming out of North Carolina. He's a big bruiser, just like Allen. As I said before, I think Allen's going to set the tone to get the linebacker size quarterbacks. May is 6'4", 240. So good
Mike,
size.
it's not a good time for us to hear that in Carolina with our quarterback. Let me ask you a question, Mike. If the Redskins today could switch conferences, they wouldn't join the NFC South, would they? With the level of talent in the NFC South right now, would you guys switch?
Definitely.
What?
Yeah, I think that'd be a no-brainer. But
I think all teams would. That aren't already in there.
The fan base. I mean, there's a rivalry with the Giants and the Eagles and the Cowboys.
You guys are a tough conference. Jeez Louise.
That's tough. I mean, when I was a kid, growing up, I rooted for 2 teams. I had 2 favorite teams: Washington and who was ever playing Dallas.
ABD, anybody but Dallas.
Anybody but Dallas, and that's the way that's the way I grew up. So it's kind of funny. My grandson out in Albuquerque, his favorite team is the Cowboys. So he asked me, because who's your team? I just laughed. I said, well, you really don't want to know, but so
That's
that's
a long story.
So Jackson, last week on the show, we talked a lot about Bill Belichick, and since then there's been a couple developments here. Obviously, Dallas fired their coach, but they're Dallas got eliminated, but they're keeping their coach.
Yes.
Philadelphia got eliminated. We're not quite sure what's happening with Sirianni. We've heard reports.
But what I do know is that the reports that you're saying is that we're not. It remains uncertain for. Sorry to interrupt, but I had to jump in here for a second. But it remains. What I was saying is that it remains uncertain for Nick Sirianni, but what I do know is that he's getting rid of their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator and their coaching staff. That's what we know so far. But as far as their head coach, it just remains uncertain at this point for right now. Go ahead, Blake.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, it seems like there's been a lot of talk about Bill Belichick and being linked with Atlanta. In fact, Atlanta confirmed themselves that they've interviewed him. So if I had to guess right now, I would bet that Bill Belichick ends up in Atlanta, which would be exciting as a Falcons fan. Or that would at least re-energize my my interest in the team for sure, depending on what happens with the quarterback situations. I think me and my dad were speculating about Bill Belichick comes in and then possibly making a trade for Justin Fields. Given the speculation, it looks like Chicago's leaning towards taking him with the first overall pick in the draft. So I can see why he'd be attracted to the Falcons. I'm sure Arthur Blank will make him well compensated. He's always a bit of a showman. Mr. Blank is, so I'm sure he's always had Belichick in the back of his head at bringing to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium at some point. So that looks like his most likely landing spot. Although I will say Mike's prediction of Belichick to the Eagles is not. We can't rule it out yet. Is all I'll say. And if he wants to go to a team that's Super Bowl ready, Philadelphia certainly fits that criteria, right?
How about we
Yeah.
give a shout out to Blake
Right.
Blake Gerke, brother Blake, about calling me Harbaugh NFL coaching last week on the show, that he's entertaining some NFL jobs. And you called that, Blake. That was a pretty good call.
Yeah, I mean, I think we never know exactly how much of that is him just keeping the Michigan hierarchy on their toes about I have other options here. I think I've heard Jim Harbaugh is being linked with the Chargers job is what I've heard. If he was to come to the NFL, I don't know how set in stone that is because, like we said previously, he's at a great spot there in Michigan coming off a national championship. But if he is to go, that's a possible landing spot to keep an eye on.
The Chargers just interviewed Mike Vrabel. I think
Yep.
it was today.
Mhm.
The ex-head coach of the Titans. So they're interviewing multiple people.
Yeah. I think Vrabel is certainly a name to keep an eye on as well. I think he's a great coach personally. I think he did a lot with a little in Tennessee, given the quarterbacks they've had the past couple of years. So yeah, I like him in general. So I think whoever ends up with him, whether it's LA or possibly even Seattle as well, I could see him being a good fit in Seattle, Vrabel.
Yeah.
So definitely keep an eye on that.
Yeah, and just go back to the Commanders now. We've got our GM. Well, now we need to get our head coach, and then in the draft we'll pick our quarterback. So we'll have our trifecta. Then of course we need an offensive line, but that's down the road.
One step
Yeah.
at a time.
Yeah. So a couple of names to watch for the Commanders' next head coach. There a couple are from the Detroit Lions. The other is a defensive coordinator from the Ravens. Are probably going to be your best options for right now.
Yeah, they're interviewing two guys from the Ravens, Mike McDonald and Anthony Weaver, both currently with the Ravens. They just Raheem Morris with the Rams defensive coordinator. They interviewed him today. Interesting is I haven't heard anything about them interviewing Bieniemy for the head coach.
But I think your best possibility for your next head coach is Ben Johnson, the former
He's-
Lions
He's offensive coordinator with the
offensive coordinator
Lions.
coach. Yes.
Yeah.
That's who I would go after.
Yeah.
Be my guess.
Do you think they'll keep Bieniemy on the coaching staff, or will they let him go?
That's a great question. It's possibly, but I think things are still up in the air for this one. But you never know. But I wouldn't mind him to return on this coaching staff.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I just curious. I mean, they bring in another offensive oriented guy. Then what are they going to do with Bieniemy? As opposed to going after a defensive oriented head coach and keeping Bieniemy. I don't know.
Yeah, I think with a new ownership group,
All I know is
I would
pitchers and catchers report on February 14th.
Right.
Probably better, more optimism with that sport in DC probably, but yeah, no, I think they probably would go with the younger coordinator, Washington, to kind of grow. They're obviously not a team that's ready to win right away, so I think the new ownership group kind of wants to implement their ideals there, so they probably would go with the younger kind of upstart coach and start to build things there. Is what I would say.
Yeah. And like I said, the Commanders are going after a few Detroit Lions coordinators and the Ravens, Ben McDonald, like Mike said. there's going to be lots of we're gonna have to check back and wait and see who they hire. But once it does happen, we'll have it for you on New Guy Sports at some point whenever we bring it to you at the appropriate time. We will let you know who they go after.
Yeah, and Dan Quinn, the Cowboys defensive coordinator, is also one of the candidates for the head coaching position. That might be interesting because then we'll get some inside scoop on how to beat the Cowboys.
Right.
Well, I mean, the Cowboys have had a good defense. So I don't want to burn Dan Quinn too bad, but I wasn't particularly a big fan of him as the Falcons head coach. I haven't been a big fan of any of the Falcons head coaches the past couple of ones, to be honest. So, yeah, I don't know. If somebody wants to hire them, go for it. But I wouldn't call that. That wouldn't be particularly inspiring to someone's fan base, I would suggest. But hey, what do I know?
Hey, you know a lot.
What about should we cover some of the other coaching news? Maybe some of the college football coaching news is with the new Alabama coach. And what are your expectations for him, Jack?
I think
Kalen DeBoer, we're talking about.
Yeah, Kalen. Yeah, I think he'll find a way to turn this program around. I mean,
well, it's not much to turn around. I mean, they
oh,
didn't make the playoff.
All I'm saying is after
he's not going to. He's not coaching like Toledo or anything. You know what I mean?
Well, no. But I think he'll find ways to win this program and win the game this season. Although nobody's going to be like Nick Saban, but at least you're going to win some games, which is more important for your program. So at least you have some brighter. But at least the brighter is future for Alabama fans for this hire, which shouldn't be a problem for me.
Yeah, and on paper it does look like a bit of an interesting one, given the fact that he's coming from a school that's basically like an opposite part of the United States, and a guy that's not from the region, not from the Southeast or anything like that. But I actually think it's a good hire to go sort of against type for a typical SEC coach. So instead of picking up a guy that's been at Georgia, Clemson, or somewhere in Florida or something like that, I think getting a guy, Kalen DeBoer, who's just coached a very well coached Washington team. They're very disciplined. They do play exciting football. I think it's a good hire, because I think a lot of times mistakes that teams and programs make when trying to replace a legend that's been there for so long and has won X amount of titles is trying to bring in a guy that's going to do the exact same thing and keep it going. And so, like Jack said, I think it's pretty much impossible to replicate what Nick Saban did, but I think getting a coach that understands that and wants to kind of do his own thing is actually more beneficial in some ways.
Guys, I got a number for you. The number's 3. 3 is the amount of Super Bowls that the Washington Redskins Commanders have won, and it's also the number of transfers that have left from Alabama and headed to Neon Deion's Colorado Buffalo so far. So I knew Deion would be licking his chops, and Blake, I think you're right. They got a good coach, and they had to shut the leaky vessel down quick, because a lot of players were leaving Alabama once Saban left and transferring out, and I think Deion's already scooped up 3 of them. So a little bit of symbolism with the Washington Redskins there.
Yeah, I think I'm not quite sure I understand that from the player perspectives. Like, I mean, you could at least. I guess that's just the way college football is nowadays. It's like ex-coach leaves, they bring in their own players, and players leave and stuff like that. So fair enough, but like, I think it's unfair for the players to just expect like Coach Saban to remain for as long as the players that he recruits and stuff like that. So we'll see. I mean, I mean, jumping ship to Colorado, I guess, is exciting and you get a lot of media attention, but I think Deion's still kind of unproven as a coach.
Yeah.
So,
But were any of those 3 that transferred, were any of those starters?
That's a great question, Mike. I was wondering the exact same thing.
One of the receiver who caught the wing touchdown against Auburn left, I know.
Okay.
So I don't think they were.
Anquan Anquan Barnes is the latest. He was a defensive lineman, but it does not say if he actually started at Alabama.
Yeah. I mean, I could see, second stringers going into transfer portal and going to a school like Colorado, because then you have a better chance of actually, playing.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely people that want to showcase themselves to get drafted. It makes sense. Obviously, like quarterbacks, I totally get it because like you only play one quarterback. So if you're not going to play, then you should go somewhere where you can play, and then that increases your chances of getting drafted, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I mean, obviously schools like Alabama and Georgia have no issues replenishing talent. So I think DeBoer will be good. Maybe once he kind of gets the ball rolling and gets his feet on the ground there in Tuscaloosa, I think he'll do well.
Yeah, the hard part is schools like that, like Bama and Georgia, if they don't go undefeated, they've had a losing season.
But we do have expanded playoffs this year, though.
Yeah.
So you can justify making the playoffs as a successful season, right?
Yeah.
And the odds of Alabama and Georgia not making
but those schools, they got to win the whole thing.
True.
It's like the New York Yankees. You don't win the World Series, you've had a losing season.
Yeah. Or the Dallas Cowboys, which
the Dallas Cowboys,
which has been the case for a
in
while.
the same category,
or the Atlanta Braves.
Well,
I want to go that far.
We got one a couple years
but
ago.
on North American professional sports, on droughts, all fall with the Cowboys and Yankees by hands down. Though I want to put it that way. You heard it here first.
Yeah, I don't know why the Cowboys have these high expectations for a team that hasn't won anything recently. It seems a bit unrealistic. I think there's some sort of like latency period where if you don't win since the 90s, I don't think you're expected to win anymore. So I'm always a bit puzzled by that as someone that was born after the last Super Bowl they've won. I've never really understood why the Cowboys have such high expectations. I've at least seen the Yankees be good in my lifetime.
Guys, are they going to switch their motto from America's team to the lovable losers after all these tough seasons?
I think
lately?
America's cream,
America's loser team. Yeah, something like that. We'll workshop it.
Or should we call Americans loser drought team?
I like it, Jack. Who was the lovable losers? Whose nickname was that? Was that a baseball or a football reference?
Lovable losers.
I think that is. Oh gosh, that's a good question actually, because I definitely know. I'll look it up. Maybe that's just a general. The Cubs. The
Cubbies.
So that was obviously broken in 2016 as well. So yeah, obviously you can't count a team that's won as much as Dallas.
They started out their name was the Orphans.
Who the
Cubbies?
The Cubs. Interesting.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, they were called the Orphans, and then
like an animal orphan or a human orphan?
Yeah, like and then because the Chicago had they called them the Cubbies, and that's where it came.
Yeah, some funny team names back in the day, huh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, funny old silly old baseball terms back in the early century days. A lot of good history lessons for kids to learn.
Yeah, the New York Highlanders.
There you go.
Another great example right there for all you baseball historians out there.
All you kids out there, go look up your franchise, and you might be surprised some of the former places they were located or the team names. It's a lot of good history out there for you sports fanatics.
Mike, any way we can get a motion in order to get the referees to wear blue again? I just can't stop yelling, call it fair, blue, and no one knows what I'm talking about anymore.
Oh, I know.
Do they not still wear? Do they not like change it sometimes depending on what the teams are wearing, or is it always like black now?
It's
for baseball.
It's always in black, or at least they have sometimes they
like
wear armbands for Mother's Day and Father's Day.
Yeah, maybe it's like a sponsorship thing as well or something.
Yeah.
No, I'm with that. I mean, you gotta have blue. Like, come on, blue. What kind of call was that? Wake up,
Exactly.
wake up, blue. Come on.
Exactly.
Speaking of, Jackson's wearing blue right now.
Yes, I'm wearing a blue long sleeve T-shirt today.
All right.
Terrible call,
Guys
blue.
can see. Well, it's just one of those stay at home kind of clothes I'm wearing today.
What kind of shirt is that, Blue? What are you doing?
The plain old blue shirt that you just wear while you're just stuck in the house all day. That's all.
Nah,
Doing
I'm
nothing.
just messing. All right, Jack, you want to wrap things up for today?
Yes, great to have you guys for another week at Good Guy Sports. Mike, it was great talking to you. Blake, it was so great to hear from you. Sorry I couldn't be your way, but I'm sure I'll catch you in person next time wherever I might be. You never know. Guys, great to have you on. Here on Good Guy Sports talk show. We'll talk to all you guys later. Great to have all you on. We'll talk to you soon. Good Guy Sports signing out. Dr. Yerke, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye, gentlemen.
We'll see
Great
you guys.
show. Bye.
Bye, guys.